The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, well, welcome everyone, and thank you for attending today's Q1 product webinar. I see many of our current customers have joined, and I also see some new faces. So we're glad to see all of you today. We think we have something for everyone. But before we get into our content, we wanted to call out a few housekeeping items for today's program. All attendee lines will be muted. Please ask any Q&A in the chat box, and questions will be asked live on your behalf, time permitting. We will be sending a link to the recording tomorrow, and keep an eye out for 2 poll questions. Responders are eligible for the $25 Amazon gift card. 4 live attendees will win. My name is Jason Root, and I head up our operations and client teams, which means I get to interact with our clients on a regular basis, and I get to see firsthand how thoughtful segmentation and automation can drive tremendous ROI. Leading our discussion and product demonstration today is Scott Buelter, our founder and CEO, and he will be taking over in just a moment. In our Q4 webinar, we discussed and demonstrated the audience segmentation capabilities within the Ascent 360 platform. And today, we will be talking about email marketing and how segmentation plus automation can work best together inside the platform. With that, I believe we're ready to get started, but before I hand it over to Scott, we wanted to ask a quick poll question. So the first poll question is, are you currently practicing automation as part of your marketing strategy? And I'll give you a few moments to respond. Okay, a few more seconds. Okay, great. So it looks like this is going to be a helpful topic today. So I will kick it over to Scott, and I'll start by asking you, Scott, how have you seen email marketing and segmentation change over the past few years?
All right, thank you. First, introduce myself quickly. My name is Scott Buelter. I'm the CEO and founder of Ascent 360. I'm, really deeply familiar with our platform and excited to share some of it with you all today. So I think one of the most important changes is, if you would call it, is probably like the death of the newsletter. And that is to say, at some point, for 10, 12 years, the newsletter was the workhorse of email marketing, right? People would send these kind of ad hoc sends. They'd send it to, their entire database, and, lots of people would get this, right? That probably transitioned to where they're sending a newsletter once a month, and maybe every other week they'd send some kind of an ad hoc email saying, hey, here's stuff to buy. It got to some point where, companies were actually sending an email almost every day with here's stuff to buy. And, an interesting interaction I had, and this is probably 5 years ago, but it was with the CFO of Eddie Bauer. And he said, well, convince me that I shouldn't send an email every day to everybody. Every time we send an email, we make money, right? People open it and they make money. This ultimately does result in unsubscribes, angry customers, and just fatigue. So very few companies are now sending an email to the whole database, right? Open rates are down, click rates are down, and unsubscribe rates are way up.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. I don't get nearly as many newsletters as I used to, but we see that email volume is still growing. So what are marketers doing?
Yeah, in a sense, that's a lot of what we're going to cover today, right? So marketers are doing what works, right? And that is automated, triggered behavioral emails. And that is, segment the data and automate the campaign based on things that you know about the customer or things that the customer is doing, right? So what's a thing a customer could be doing? Well, they could be browsing around your website. And if they don't buy anything, well, you could send a browse abandon email. Or that's the idea, and we'll cover a couple examples today. So these types of campaigns have 60% plus open rates. It's actually pretty shocking to see. But the reason they're opening an email is, well, they just bought something from you, and you're sending them something, and they're engaged with that topic. So the newsletter now looks like literally 12 or 13% open rates, right? They just don't really work all that well anymore.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, well, since this is a product webinar, why don't we jump into the product and you can start showing us how a marketer would use our platform to send highly segmented and automated campaigns.
Yeah, that sounds great. So let's get started. I'm actually now showing our platform. This is what a customer would see as they log in. This is a made-up one called Boulder Mountain Gear, but I'm going to be using this within the context of what some examples around how a bike retailer, bike e-commerce customer might use the platform. But we could as well use many of our other client types, right? We work with jewelry stores, we work with apparel retailers, we work with grocery stores, we work with bookstores, and all sorts of clients in the hospitality space, including ski resorts and hotels, four-season hotels, all that sort of stuff. But this is, if you will, the example, right? So first you got to say, well, when you think about, let's actually give an example of what we're going to build is a post-purchase automation, right? So someone comes to your bike store, either online or in store, and makes a purchase. They buy a bike, and what we want to do is say, okay, well, they buy that bike, they take it home, and they realize, I don't have a helmet, I don't have gloves, I don't have, a GPS unit or something like that. So I already created this audience called, post-purchase bike one day, and this will effectively look and see, well, did someone buy a bike and was it yesterday? And that's what this means. As an example, when I click this, it says this, the transaction date equals 1 day before today's date. A little bit of a wizard. This right here is if they bought a bike from a category. The filter itself is just demo data, so it says home, but it would normally be bike. In a sense, it would be anything that's really inside of your data.
Very good. So we've got a targeted audience of yesterday's buyers. How do you actually build and automate the email?
Yep, let me do that. So what we would do is come over and start with the template. And it's really important to say that if you want to make this type of marketing easy, you want to start with a great template. This is something our team can help you do. I'm going to use this template called e-commerce 3 product. Let's take a look at it. I'll create a subject line which says accessories for your new, I'll make it capital, bike with an exclamation point. And as this opens up, what you'll actually see is a structure that is mostly complete. And so let's let this open. It is just loading. All right, so you see the header, you see the menu, but there's a spot for a hero image, some hero text. There's a spot for products to sell, and then the footer down at the bottom. And with a good template, what you should be able to do is just simply add the things that you want to add here. And I will go about building most of this. I did already get some accessories images in this accessories folder. And so let's include a helmet. Let's include this Thule gate mat. Let's include a Ceres bike rack, a light. This GPS unit would be a good idea, as well as this last product. I think it was this fat bike rack. So now I can say, well, okay, I need to put a product description in. But I could add the product names, right? Bell helmet, Thule bike rack. I will typically put all this stuff into a little document like this as I plan it and build. If you can see that. So let me get back here. So that now I really just need to double click here and click paste, right? And come back to it and say, okay, I've got my fat tire bike and do the exact same thing. And I won't do all of these, but I'll just give you a sense of it. Let me do a couple here at the top, right? Here's the description of the helmet. And I will add the description of the bike mat. And then finally of the bike rack. All right, and I did that partially because you can see the descriptions aren't always the same. Sometimes you might want to add an enter at the bottom, and now you can see all these buttons line up perfectly. I'll also want to add a hero image here, and I'll click here. I created a couple here. This one says accessories for your new bike. And, you know, I did a little bit of pre-work, but as you can see, we've got a pretty good looking, mostly complete email that we could now send and automate to our end consumer.
That's awesome. So it looks like a key element of this is having a template, an email template to build from. It's pretty important.
Yeah, I think it's fundamental. It's simply that you want to build a couple of these in advance, but all the hard work really goes into what color background are you going to have, or will there be a background image? Setting up the menu can take time because each of these things needs to go somewhere. The header, all of the unsubscribe, right? These are the links to our fake bike store. But you want to know where the locations are. Maybe we'd even have links to the Google Maps version of it. It really makes life a lot easier, and it makes it so that you can go from in the old days take 5-7 hours to build an email to where you can build one in literally 25 minutes or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So we have our segmented audience and we have our content. How do we go about automating the email?
Yep. I'll show you that. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to hit the save button, make sure I don't lose anything. You might remember that you actually have undo buttons over here, and it does autosave as you go. But first I'm going to send a test email to myself. It needs a from name, and I will say from sent 360 bike. And I will see the subject is accessories for your new bike. I'll send a test to myself. And then I'll go into my inbox. I'll make sure it looks good, all those sorts of things. But now all I need to do is click the send email, and it is going to send me through a wizard. And if you remember, we already looked at that post-purchase bike 1 day audience we already built. All we need to do is say send it to that, right? And as you kind of go through the wizard here, it'll say, okay, who are you sending it from? What are any properties, right? You could change the subject line if you wanted to. And finally, and this is the important part, you got to choose a schedule. And I'm going to say I want this thing scheduled, and I'd like it to go out starting tomorrow at how about 2 o'clock 2:30 in the afternoon, and I want to make this recurring. And so I could send it daily, weekly, or monthly, but in this case I'm going to send it every single day. It does ask for a stop date so that you can kind of remember, hey, I should change my images when the seasons change or something like that. But for the most part, what I've done now is really create a automated scheduled campaign that will actually send out on a daily basis to anyone who just bought a bike, showing them some accessories. In the scheme of things, pretty straightforward, and that took us just a few minutes. I'm not going to hit the send button here, but at the end of the day, that's literally what we just did.
Great. So we've got our audience, our content, our automated schedule. Is there a way we can make this even more dynamic or personalized?
Yeah, so on some level, it's actually really highly personalized, right? So it's only going to be going to people who bought bikes yesterday. You could say, well, I'd like to build a different one for people who bought anything other than bikes yesterday, right? Someone who bought accessories or something like that. But one good example is using dynamic content. And dynamic content's a relatively new feature in our platform, and I think you'll find it to be pretty cool. But I could say, oh, I just opened the wrong email. Give me a second. I opened the welcome. And this one, right? This is the accessories email. So I could say that this, what dynamic content lets you do is say, look, I know something about the people we're sending it to. I know that they bought a road bike, or I know they bought a mountain bike, or something like that. In this case, what if we said, let's send this image to males and a different image to females? We actually, our platform assigns gender to about 80% of the people as when we build a database. So that field is always available for all our clients. So what I do is click this manage display conditions, and I'll say, this is the male hero, and I want it to where it matches a condition, right? And that is where gender is equal to male. Awesome. So now I've got one where gender is equal to male. I could just as easily create another row and put an image into it. And I've already prepared a hero image for this. So it should be right here in this folder that says accessory for your new bike again. But picture with a bunch of female riders. I can also manage that display condition and call it the female hero. And exact same thing. It just takes a couple of seconds to say that gender, and in this case, I'm going to say is not equal to male, right? Because some are unknown, right? We don't match everyone in the system, so the unknowns are going to get the female hero also. I click save here, and now you can see we've got this great email. I'm going to actually then preview this and see how it looks. When I click preview, it's going to give me this option up here, and it says, well, what do you want to look at? I just want to look at the female hero, and this is what it's going to look like when it's sent to a female. And I could then change that and say I want to look at it as it's sent to males. You could create other images too, right? You could choose other things down here, and it would give you all the options, so you could go review all this stuff.
Yeah. So we see that women are going to get a female creative, male are going to get a male creative. So the automation for people that have made a purchase is pretty neat. How might we target people that haven't made a purchase yet differently?
Yeah, I think that's actually really important. So we consider that to be prospects. So when we think about a marketing database, a lot of people call it a customer database or something like that. But in some sense, you also know that there's a lot of people in the database who are not customers, right? They came in and they signed up. They signed up via email on your website. Maybe you loaded them in an Excel spreadsheet because you had to sign up at a bike show or Sea Otter Classic or something like that. Those people are prospects, and so if someone signs up on your website, you can probably guarantee that they're in market for your product, right? So if you're a bike retailer, as an example, and someone signs up, it probably means that they're interested in something, right? If you're a jeweler, someone signs up, maybe they're looking for a wedding ring. So what I've done here is already use effectively the same template to build a quick email that says, welcome to the team, and what can we help you with? Are you interested in mountain bikes, road bikes, electric bikes? I should say electric bikes right here. Actually, I should type it right there. Okay, without any spelling mistakes. And so this is the sort of email that you want to send to prospects, because you don't know that much about them yet, right? You might have just gotten their name and their zip code and their email address, but you don't yet know, do these people like road biking? Do they like electric bikes or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. So great welcome email, and I understand why we'd want to show the various pieces. How do we automate this and collect the data?
Yep. So there's a number of ways, but the easiest way to think about it is using a form builder, right? So, and if I go over to integrate and forms, what we've got is a way to build forms, and I could say, well, let me go build a new form, but I've already got a couple, right? One of them is like an event registration. You know, maybe you're having a course to, you know, how do you look at the quality of diamonds, or maybe if it is a bike retailer, how do you, you know, clean the derailleurs or something like that. And so here I'll use this one, right? It's a new prospect sign up form. I'll click on it and edit it. And you'll want to put this onto your website. But let me first show the form as it pops up. You'll notice this looks very similar to the email designer. All the same things. I can move over buttons or images. Here I might say, you know what, this sign up form, I don't want all these fields. Let me actually get rid of last name. It's collecting too much. So now it's just first name, zip code, email, and email permission. And I can save that. And when someone fills this out now, when they finish it, they're going to go to this URL. But what we want to do is actually send them a confirmation email. And that means when they fill out this form, we're going to go send them this welcome email. I'll click here and click select. And now all of a sudden, we actually have a form that is published that our clients can go out and they can, or your end customers can come out here and click on those. I'll give you a sense of what it looks like if I actually just grab this link. So this is a link to the form. If I go take a look at it, you'll see that there's the form. I can actually go fill this out. My zip code is 80401, and my email address is spildretta@360.com. And finally, I just click subscribe. And it's going to take me to our homepage because that's what I asked it to do. And into my inbox is going to come that welcome email telling me all those various options.
Great. All right. Well, Scott, I think you got through most of our planned content for the day, which is great. I see a few questions that got submitted, and we may have time to answer one of them. First one I see is about the mobile devices, and the question was, how would we optimize the layout for display on mobile devices? Is that something you can share real quick?
Yeah, it sure is, and I'll actually show that to you. So if I come here back to that same e-commerce design, and I'm going to open that up and open up the one that we already had built. So what this actually is built to be mobile optimized already, and I can actually come here and do a preview. And when I do the preview, I can look at how it will look on mobile. And all of a sudden, you'll see that it starts shrinking things up. And a good example is that it actually puts the three product images, the products that we talked about. It stacks them, and it stacks them nicely with the description, then the image, then the product description, and then the buy now button. And then it goes to the next product, on and on and on. There actually are a lot of options for you know, how you actually manage that. And so as an example, I could actually take this hero image and I could, as an example, hide on mobile, right? So now all of a sudden, it's not even going to show the hero image on mobile. And I can do the same thing as an example with this menu here. I can actually choose to make it a mobile menu right here. And so now all of a sudden, when we go and preview this, it's gonna look a little bit different, right? See, you got a mobile menu. That mobile menu is a drop down from optimized for mobile. You can set this up so it only will show on mobile. You can see the male hero image, right? Because we're not in the display condition. It doesn't even show because I said hide that on mobile, and all the other things are nicely stacked how you actually might want it to look on a mobile device.
Awesome. All right, well, that just about wraps up our discussion for today. If you did type in a question and we didn't get to it, we will respond back to you directly. But in the interest of everyone's time, we want to wrap this up on schedule. Before we go, we do want to ask you the second poll question. We mentioned that there would be two. And the second poll question is, are you interested in a complimentary data-driven automation assessment? So if you're new to us and you're learning about us and you maybe haven't signed up and you're interested in that, please respond to the poll, and I'll give you a moment to respond. Okay, well, thank you everyone for your responses. If you're interested, we will certainly get back to you shortly. As a reminder, Ascent 360 integrates with, scrubs, and enriches data from over 100 POS, e-commerce, lodging, booking, and other systems. If you're interested in a complimentary demo or have a suggestion for a future webinar topic, please reach out to our head of marketing, Heather Knutson, at hknutson@ascent360.com. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone. I sure appreciate it.